Kind Do-yoon woke up under dead bodies. The weight pressed down on his chest. He could smell blood and burned metal. His ears were ringing. For a long moment, he did not move. He did not breathe. He just lay there in the darkness and tried to remember what had happened. Then it came back to him. The ambush. The explosions. The screaming. His entire unit, all 47 soldiers, had been caught in a Vulturi trap. He remembered the bright flash of plasma fire. He remembered his friend Minho falling beside him. He remembered nothing after that. Slowly, carefully, Do-yoon pushed the bodies off himself. His armor was cracked. His helmet was gone. Blood covered his face, but he could not tell if it was his own or someone else's. He sat up and looked around. The battlefield was silent now. Bodies lay everywhere. Human bodies. His people. His friends. The purple sky of Kepler 7b stretched above him, empty and cold. There was no sound of rescue ships. No radio chatter. Nothing. Do-yoon checked his communication device. It was broken. He checked his weapon. It was out of power. He checked his water supply. Empty. He checked his food packs. Gone. He was alone. Behind enemy lines. With nothing, most soldiers would have given up. Most soldiers would have found a quiet place to hide and wait for death. But Do-yoon was not most soldiers. He had grown up poor in a small town. He had worked hard for everything in his life. He did not know how to quit. He stood up on shaking legs. He looked at the bodies of his fallen comrades. He made a silent promise to them. "I will make them pay," he whispered. Every single one of them. For the first 3 days, Do-yoon just survived. He found water in a small stream. He caught small creatures to eat. He hid in caves during the day when Vulturi patrols flew overhead. At night, he moved. The Vulturi were tall creatures with gray skin and 4 arms. They had no eyes, but they could sense heat and movement. They were faster than humans and stronger than humans. Their weapons were better. Their ships were better. Everything about them was better, but they had one weakness. They did not think like humans. They worked together like insects in a hive. They shared one mind, one purpose. They could not imagine a single human being a threat. This was their mistake. On the 4th night, Do-yoon found a Vulturi sensor array. It was a small tower that helped enemy ships navigate. 2 guards stood watch. Do-yoon waited in the darkness for 3 hours. He watched. He learned their patrol pattern. Then he moved. He killed the first guard with a rock. The second guard turned, confused. Before it could call for help, Do-yoon had already taken the first guard's weapon. He fired once. The second guard fell. Do-yoon destroyed the sensor array. Then he disappeared into the night. The next week, he poisoned a Vulturi fuel depot. The week after that, he collapsed a cave system on a patrol unit. Then he destroyed a communication relay. Then he killed 6 soldiers who were guarding a supply route. The Vulturi commanders did not understand what was happening. The report said, equipment, failure and structural collapse, and unknown. Interference. They did not consider that one human could. 'Cause so much damage, but Queen Yura was watching. She was young for a Vulturi queen. Only 200 years old. She sat in her throne room on the great flagship called Whisper of Eternity. She read every report from Kepler 7b. She noticed a pattern that her commanders missed. "Something is wrong," she said to her advisors. "These are not accidents." "My queen," one advisor said, "our soldiers have complete control of the moon. The humans are defeated." "Then explain this," Yura said. She showed them a map. Every accident was marked. They formed a line, a path. Something was moving through their territory, striking and disappearing. "Send scouts," Yura ordered. Find what is doing this. Meanwhile, Do-hyun was getting weaker. He had been fighting alone for 3 weeks now. He had killed 47 enemy soldiers, one for each member of his fallen unit. But he was running out of strength. His wounds were infected. He had not slept properly in days. He was running on anger and nothing else. One night, he sat in a cave and looked at a small photograph. It showed a young woman with a bright smile. His sister, Yoonji. She was waiting for him back on Earth. She did not know he was alive. She probably thought he was dead like everyone else. "I'm sorry," Do-hyun whispered to the photograph. "I don't think I'm coming home." But he did not stop fighting. He could not stop. If he stopped, then all his friends had died for nothing. If he stopped, the Valkyrie would win completely. If he stopped, he would have to admit that humans were weak. And Kang Do-hyun refused to be weak. The next morning, a Valkyrie scout drone found him. It captured video of a human covered in mud and dried blood. The human was dragging a plasma cutter toward an ammunition depot. He moved slowly, painfully, but he moved with purpose. The video was sent directly to Queen Yura. She watched it 7 times. She watched this broken, dying human drag himself toward certain death just to cause a little more damage. She watched him refuse to give up even when giving up was the only logical choice. For the first time in her 200 years, Queen Yura felt something she had never felt before. Curiosity. "Do not kill him," she ordered her commanders. "Bring him to me alive. I want to understand what makes this creature fight." Far below, Do-hyun reached the ammunition depot. He planted his charges. He smiled a tired, bloody smile. Then he pressed the button. The explosion lit up the night sky, and somewhere above, a queen whispered, "Fascinating." Queen Yura sat on her crystal throne and watched the humans in the prisoner camp below. There were thousands of them. Now, soldiers, doctors, engineers, farmers, all. The survivors of the human defeat on Kepler 7b, they sat in the dirt behind electric fences. They looked broken. They looked hopeless. All except one. The reports kept coming. Another supply depot destroyed. Another patrol killed. Another sensor tower collapsed. The single human was still out there, still fighting. Her commanders were embarrassed. How could one creature cause so much trouble? "My queen," her chief advisor said, "we should simply destroy the area with orbital fire. Kill everything within 50 kilometers. This problem will end." "No," Yura said. "But my queen," I said no. Yura's voice was cold. "I want him alive." The advisor bowed and left. Yura continued to watch the prisoner camp. She was thinking. The Valkyrie had conquered many species across the galaxy. Some were strong. Some were smart. Some had advanced technology. But all of them eventually surrendered. All of them accepted defeat when defeat was clear. Humans were different. Yura had studied their history. She had read about their wars, their struggles, their disasters. Again and again, humans faced impossible situations. Again and again, they refused to give up. They would rather die fighting than live surrendering. This made no logical sense. The Valkyrie were a hive mind. Every individual was connected to every other individual. When one Valkyrie died, the memories and knowledge were preserved in the collective. Death was not an ending. It was just a change. But humans died alone. When a human died, everything they were disappeared forever. Their memories, their feelings, their dreams, gone. So why did they fight so hard to protect each other? Why did they sacrifice themselves for strangers? Why did this one human keep fighting when he had nothing left to gain? Yura needed to understand. She designed the trap herself. Her soldiers captured 12 human civilians who had been hiding in the mountains. Women, children, elderly people. Weak, helpless, The soldiers brought them to an open area and made them kneel in the dirt. Then they waited. Yura watched through a surveillance drone. She saw movement in the rocks above the clearing. A shadow, a shape. The human had found them. She expected him to attack immediately. He did not. He watched for a long time. He was counting soldiers, checking positions, planning. There were 50 Velthari soldiers in the clearing. The human was alone, wounded, and exhausted. Any rational creature would turn away. Any rational creature would know this fight was impossible. The human attacked anyway. He came down from the rocks, like a falling star. He had stolen a Velthari rifle. He fired as he ran. 3 soldiers fell before they knew what was happening. Then 4 more. Then 5 more. The soldiers returned fire. Plasma bolts flew everywhere. The human dodged between rocks. He moved faster than a wounded human should be able to move. He was running on pure will, but there were too many soldiers. He was surrounded. A plasma bolt hit his leg. He fell. He tried to stand. He fell again. The soldiers closed in around him. Stop. Yura's voice came through their communication devices. Do not kill him. Capture him. The human looked up at the soldiers surrounding him. His face was covered in blood and dirt. His body was broken, but his eyes were still burning with defiance. Come on then, he said in his strange human language. What are you waiting for? They put chains on his wrists and legs. They dragged him to a transport ship. The 12 civilians he had tried to save watched him go. An old woman was crying. Thank you, she called out. Thank you for trying. The human did not answer. He was barely conscious. But Yura saw something on his face. Something like peace. He had failed to save them, but he had tried. For humans, trying seemed to matter as much as succeeding. How strange. They brought him to the flagship. They cleaned his wounds. They'd put him in a special cell with a window that looked out at the stars. Then they left him alone. Yura waited 3 days. She wanted him to regain some strength. She wanted him to be awake and aware when she spoke to him. On the 4th night, she went to his cell. The human was sitting on the floor, looking out the window. He did not turn when she entered. He did not seem afraid. I know you can hear me, she said. The Velthari could project their thoughts directly into other minds. It was uncomfortable for humans, like a voice inside their head that they could not ignore. I have questions for you. The human finally turned. He looked at her with those strange human eyes, brown and gold and filled with something she did not recognize. So ask, he said, why you fight? He laughed. It was a broken, tired sound. Because that's what soldiers do. Your army is destroyed. Your people are captured. You cannot win. Fighting serves no purpose. You don't understand, he said. Then explain. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. I had 47 soldiers under my command. They trusted me. They followed me. And they all died because I couldn't protect them. His voice cracked. I fight because I owe them. I fight because someone has to. I fight because if I stop, then everything they died for means nothing. Yura did not understand. They are dead. They cannot know if you fight or surrender. Their opinion no longer exists. It exists to me, the human said. That's the point. What is your name? Yura asked. Kangdoyan. Kangdoyan, Yura repeated. The sounds was strange in her mind. I am Queen Yura of the Velthari Empire. I have conquered 17 species. I have ruled for 200 years. And I have never met anyone like you. Dohin looked at her. Is that supposed to scare me? No, Yura said. It is supposed to make you understand. You have my attention. Very few creatures earn that honor. Even fewer survive it. She turned and walked toward the door. Wait, Do-yoon said. What happens now? Yura paused. She looked back at him. Now, she said, I learn what makes humans so impossible to break. And you, Kang Do-yoon, are going to teach me. The door closed behind her. Do-yoon sat alone in his cell, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his sister was waiting for him. Somewhere out there, his home planet was still fighting. He did not know what the alien queen wanted from him. He did not know if he would survive. But he knew one thing for certain. He would not break. No matter what she did to him. No matter how long this lasted, he was human. And humans did not break. Queen Yura visited Do-hyun every night. She did not torture him. She did not threaten him. She simply sat outside his cell and talked to him. Or rather, she whispered into his mind. At first, Do-hyun refused to answer. He sat with his back to her and stared at the stars. He thought about his sister. He thought about his fallen friends. He thought about anything except the alien queen trying to enter his thoughts. But Yura was patient. She had lived for 200 years. She could wait. Tell me about your family, she said one night. Do-hyun did not answer. I know you have a sister. I saw her image in your belongings. She looks like you. Still no answer. Among my people, we do not have families. We are all connected. We share one mind, one purpose. The concept of a sister is strange to me. Do-hyun finally spoke. Then you wouldn't understand. Help me understand. He turned to look at her. She was tall and gray, with 4 arms folded against her body. She had no eyes, but he felt her attention on him like a weight. Why do you care? He asked. Because you are a mystery. And I have not encountered a mystery in a very long time. Do-hyun was silent for a moment. Then he said, her name is Yoonji. She's 5 years younger than me. When our parents died, I raised her. I worked 3 jobs to pay for her school. I joined the army so she could have a better life. And now you are here. A prisoner. She will never see you again. Maybe. Maybe not. Do-hyun's jaw tightened. But she knows I love her. And she knows I would do anything to protect her. Even die. Especially die. This makes no sense, Yura said. You cannot protect her by dying. Your death serves no practical purpose for her survival. It's not about practical purpose. It's about love. What is love? The question surprised Do-hyun. He had expected the alien queen to be cold, calculating, cruel. He had not expected her to be confused. Love is caring about someone more than you care about yourself. Love is being willing to suffer so someone else doesn't have to. Love is choosing another person's happiness over your own. Yura was quiet for a long time. Then she said, this is inefficient. Despite everything, Do-hyun laughed. Yeah, it probably is. The visits continued. Night after night, Yura came to his cell. She asked about human art, human music, human stories. She asked about war and peace, about victory and defeat. She asked about death. You know you will die someday, she said. All humans die. Your lives are so short. How do you continue knowing that everything ends? That's exactly why we continue, Do-hyun said. Because everything ends, everything matters. Every moment is precious, because it won't last forever. Every person is special, because they will never exist again. We Velthari live forever in the collective. When one of us dies, their memories continue in all the others. We lose nothing. But you gain nothing either, Do-hyun said. If you never lose anything, how can you appreciate what you have? If you live forever, how can any moment be special? Yura did not answer. But something shifted in her mind. Something opened. She began to probe deeper. She asked permission to see his memories. At first, Do-hyun refused. But slowly, as the weeks passed, he began to trust her. Or at least, He began to understand her. She was not evil. She was not cruel. She was just different. She had never felt love or loss or grief. She had never cared about a single individual. She had never understood why humans fought so hard for things they knew they would lose. One night, he let her in. She saw his mother, dying in a hospital bed, holding his hand. She felt the grief that crushed his chest, the tears he refused to cry. She saw his promise to her. I will take care of Yoonji. I will protect her. I swear. She saw his first day of rain after 6 months in a desert war zone. She felt the cool water on his face. She felt the simple, overwhelming joy of being alive. She saw his friends in the 47th unit. She saw them laughing around a fire. She saw them dying in the ambush. She felt the guilt that Do-yoon carried every moment of every day. The weight of 47 names he would never forget. When she pulled out of his mind, Yura was shaking. How do you bear it? She whispered. The pain, the loss, the memory of everyone you could not save. You just do, Do-hyun said, because the alternative is worse. The alternative is forgetting them, and I will never forget them. Something changed in Yura that night. She began to question things she had never questioned before. Why did the Velthri conquer other species? Why did they destroy what they did not understand? Why did they see individuals as worthless? She looked at Do-hyun, this broken, stubborn human who refused to give up even when everything was lost. And she saw something beautiful, something her people had lost long ago, or perhaps had never possessed. Your species is insane, she said one night. You love things you know you will lose. You fight wars you know you cannot win. You grieve for individuals who are replaceable. Do-hyun looked at her with his strange, warm human eyes. Nothing is replaceable, he said. That's the whole point. Yura stood very still. The words echoed in her mind. Nothing is replaceable. Every life matters. Every moment is precious. Every person is special. For the first time in 200 years, Queen Yura of the Velthri Empire felt something new. She felt doubt. She looked at this human prisoner, this enemy, this mystery, and she made a decision that would change everything. I am going to help you escape, she said. Do-hyun stared at her. What? There are other prisoners on this ship. 200 humans captured during the war. I will give you the codes to free them. I will tell you where the shuttle bay is. I will tell you the patrol schedules. Why? Yura was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered into his mind, soft as a breeze. Because you taught me something worth more than this war. You taught me that small things can matter. She turned and walked away. Behind her, Do-hyun sat in stunned silence. Then slowly, very slowly, he began to smile. It was time to go home. Do-hyun did not sleep that night. He sat in his cell and memorized everything Yura had told him. The codes to open the prison cells, the location of the shuttle bay, the patrol schedules, the weak points in the ship's security. Every detail could mean the difference between life and death. He did not fully trust Yura. How could he? She was the enemy queen. She had conquered planets. She had killed thousands of humans. But she was also his only chance, and something in her eyes, something in the way she whispered to him, told him she was telling the truth. The next morning, a guard came to bring him food. Do-hyun waited until the guard turned away. Then he moved. He had been a soldier for 12 years. He had trained in combat since he was 20 years old. Even weak and wounded, he was still dangerous. The guard fell without making a sound. Do-hyun took his weapon and his keycard. Then he started running. The first prison block held 40 humans. They looked up as Do-hyun entered. Their eyes were empty, hopeless. They did not believe rescue was possible. Get up, Do-hyun said. We're leaving. A young woman stepped forward. Her name was Jisoo. She had been a mech before she was captured. She had the hard eyes of someone who had seen too much death. "Who are you?" she asked. "Kang Do-yun, 47th Expeditionary Unit." The 47th was destroyed. Everyone died. Almost everyone. Do-hyun smiled grimly. "I'm hard to kill. Now are you coming or not?" They came. Do-hyun moved through the ship like a ghost. Yora's information was perfect. Every patrol was where she said it would be. Every door opened with the codes she gave him. Block by block, cell by cell, he freed the prisoners. 100 humans. Then 150. Then 200. Among them was a man named Taiwu. He had been a commander before his capture. He had been cooperating with the Valkyrie, trading information to keep other prisoners alive. Some prisoners hated him. Others understood. "I know what you did," Do-hyun said to him. "I don't care. Can you fight?" Taiwu nodded slowly. "Yes, I can fight." "Then fight. Prove that your cooperation was worth something." They reached the shuttle bay. 6 Valkyrie transport ships sat waiting. Enough room for everyone. But the alarm had been raised. Valkyrie soldiers poured into the bay. Dozens of them. Then hundreds. They formed a wall between the prisoners and the shuttles. "We're trapped," Jisoo said. "No." Do-hyun looked around. He saw a corridor leading away from the bay. A single choke point. If someone held that corridor, the shuttles could launch. He turned to Taiwu. Taiwu understood. His face went pale, then calm. "I'll hold them," Taiwu said. "Get everyone out. You'll die." "I know." Taiwu smiled. It was the smile of a man who had finally found peace. Tell them I was a good man in the end." He took a rifle and ran toward the corridor. Do-hyun watched him go. Then he turned to the prisoners. "Move! Get to the shuttles. Now!" The prisoners ran. Behind them, plasma fire erupted. Taiwu was fighting. One man against hundreds. He could not win. He did not need to win. He just needed to buy time. Do-hyun loaded prisoners into shuttles. One shuttle launched. Then another. Then another. Each one carried 30 humans toward freedom. The 4th shuttle was loading when the elite guards arrived. These were not normal soldiers. They were the Queen's personal guard. They were faster, stronger, deadlier than anything Do-hyun had faced before. They moved like shadows. They killed like lightning. 10 prisoners fell before Do-hyun could react. Then 20. Then 30. Jisoo grabbed his arm. "We have to go. We have to leave now. Not without everyone. There's no time." The elite guards surrounded them. Do-hyun raised his weapon. He knew this was the end. He had saved almost 200 people. That would have to be enough. Then something strange happened. The elite guards froze. They stood perfectly still like statues. Their weapons were raised, but they did not fire. Their bodies were locked in place. Inside Do-hyun's mind, he heard a whisper. "Go," Yura said. "Now, I cannot hold them long." Do-hyun understood. Yura was using her telepathic power to freeze her own soldiers. She was betraying her empire. She was choosing him over her people. Why? He asked in his mind. "Because you taught me that small things matter. Because you are not small to me. Not anymore." The remaining prisoners ran for the last shuttle. Do-hyun stayed behind, covering them. One by one, they climbed aboard. "Do-hyun!" Jisoo shouted from the shuttle door. "Come on!" He ran. The elite guards were starting to move again. Yura's control was breaking. Plasma fire flew around him. Something hit his shoulder. Pain exploded through his body. He jumped. He caught the shuttle door just as it began to close. Jisoo grabbed his hand. She pulled him inside. The shuttle launched. Through the window, Do-hyun saw the Valkyrie flagship growing smaller behind them. He saw the stars rushing past. He saw freedom dot, and in his mind, he heard Yura one last time. Goodbye, Kang Do-yun. I hope you find your sister. I hope you find peace. And I hope you remember me. I'll remember, he promised. I'll remember everything. The shuttle flew toward human space. Behind them, Commander Taiwu's last fight had finally ended. The corridor was silent now. But because of his sacrifice, 5 shuttles had escaped. Almost 200 humans were going home. Do-yun sat in the shuttle and looked at the people around him. They were crying. They were laughing. They were holding each other. They were free. Jisoo sat beside him. She looked at his wounded shoulder. She started treating it without asking permission. That was impossible, she said. What you did was impossible. Nothing is impossible, Do-yun said. Just very, very difficult. Who helped you? Someone gave you those codes. Someone froze those guards. Do-yun was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, a queen. What? Nothing. He leaned back and closed his eyes. Wake me when we reach human space. I need to sleep. But he did not sleep. He lay there in the darkness and thought about Yura, about the enemy queen who had become something else. Something he did not have a word for. She had risked everything to help him. She had betrayed her empire, her people, her entire species. For what? For a single human soldier who refused to give up. No, not just for him, for what he represented. For the idea that individuals matter. For the truth that small things can change the universe. Yura had learned that lesson from him. And now she would carry it forever. Do-yun touched his pocket. Inside was a small crystal shard that had fallen from Yura's dress during one of their conversations. He had kept it without knowing why. Now he knew it was a reminder. A promise. A connection between 2 beings who should have been enemies, but had become something more. The shuttle flew on through the stars, and somewhere far behind, in her crystal throne room, Queen Yura watched it go. She was smiling. 5 years passed. Kang Do-yun was a hero now. The man who survived alone behind enemy lines. The man who freed 200 prisoners. The man who faced an empire and refused to break. His story was told everywhere. Children learned his name in school. Soldiers wore patches with his face. He hated it. He did not feel like a hero. He felt like a survivor. Every night, he dreamed of the 47 soldiers he could not save. Every night, he heard their voices calling him. Every night, he woke up sweating and shaking. But he kept going. Because that was what soldiers did. He rose through the ranks, quickly. Lieutenant, Captain, Major, Colonel. He led battles across a dozen planets. He won victories that seemed impossible. He became the most famous soldier in human history. But the war did not end. Humans and Valkyrie fought 5 more years. Millions died on both sides. Planets burned. Ships exploded. The galaxy drowned in blood. And nobody could win. Humanity was too stubborn to surrender. The Valkyrie were too powerful to defeat. The war had become a wound that would not heal. It would continue until both species were destroyed. Do-yun knew this. Everyone knew this. But nobody wanted to say it out loud. Then one night, everything changed. Do-yun was sleeping in his quarters when he heard a voice. A whisper in his mind that he had not heard for 5 years. Do-yun. He sat up in bed. His heart was pounding. Yura? I need to see you. I need to speak with you. Will you come? He should have said no. She was still the enemy. Her empire was still killing his people. Meeting her would be treason. But he said yes. He took a small ship and flew alone into Valkyrie space. He broadcast a single message on all frequencies. I am coming to finish our conversation. The Valkyrie let him pass. Their weapons did not fire. Their patrols did not attack. They simply watched as this single human ship flew toward the flagship. Yura was waiting for him. She looked different. Older somehow, though Valkyrie did not age like humans. There was something heavy in her posture. Something sad. "You came," she said. "You asked." They walked together through the crystal halls of the flagship. No guards followed them. No weapons were raised. It was like the war had paused, just for this moment. "Things have changed," Yura said. "I have changed. How?" "I told my people what you taught me. That individuals matter. That small things can change everything. That love is not weakness." She paused. Not everyone agreed. What happened? Civil war. Not with weapons. With ideas. Half my people think I am a heretic. They want to remove me from power. The other half worship me as a reformer. They want to change everything we are. Dohyun looked at her. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. You were right. We were wrong. We conquered species because we did not understand them. We destroyed what we could not control. We were monsters." Her voice broke. "I was a monster. You let me go. You saved 200 lives. That doesn't sound like a monster. I did one good thing. That does not erase 1,000 bad things." They reached the throne room. It was empty now. The crystal throne sat dark and cold. "I called you here for a reason," Yura said. "The war must end. My people are tired. Your people are dying. If we keep fighting, we will destroy each other. Your commanders will never accept peace. Neither will ours. Then we will not ask our commanders." Yura turned to face him. "We will make peace ourselves. You and me. A human soldier and a Valkyrie queen." Dawn stared at her. "That's treason. Yes, they'll execute us both. Perhaps. Or perhaps they will see that peace is possible. That enemies can become allies. That the universe does not have to drown in blood forever." Dohyun thought about his sister Yoonji. She had married 3 years ago. She had a child now. A little boy named Minho, after Dohyun's friend who died in the ambush. Every time Dohyun saw that child, he thought about the future. What kind of future would Minho have if the war never ended? What kind of future would any human have? "Okay," Dohyun said. "Let's make peace." They wrote the treaty together. It took 3 days and 3 nights. They argued about every word. They fought about every term. But slowly, carefully, they built something that both species could accept. No more conquest. No more war. Trade instead of invasion. Communication instead of destruction. Respect instead of hatred. It was not perfect. It would take years to implement. There would be resistance on both sides. There would be anger and mistrust and pain. But it was a beginning. Dohyun signed the treaty. Yura signed the treaty. Then they looked at each other. "Thank you," Yura said, "for teaching me." "Thank you," Dohyun said, "for listening." They did not hug. They did not shake hands. But something passed between them. A connection that went beyond words. A friendship that had been forged in the strangest circumstances imaginable. Dohyun returned to human space. He presented the treaty to his commanders. Some wanted to reject it. Some wanted to arrest him. But the public had already heard the story. The war-weary people demanded peace. The treaty was accepted. The Treaty of Kepler 7b, named after the moon where everything began. Named after the place where 47 soldiers died, so that one could live. Dohyun finally went home. Yoonji met him at the spaceport. She was crying. She had been crying since she heard he was coming. She threw her arms around him and held him like she would never let go. "You're home," she whispered. "You're finally home." "I'm home," he said, "and I'm never leaving again." That night, Dohyun sat on his sister's porch and looked at the stars. In his pocket, he carried the crystal shard that Yura had given him. When he touched it, he could hear her whisper one last time, "Thank you for teaching me that one can matter." He smiled. Somewhere out there, across the vast darkness of space, a queen remembered a stubborn soldier. And that memory had changed 2 civilizations. Little Minho ran out onto the porch. He climbed into Do-hyun's lap and looked up at the sky. "Uncle Do-hyun," the boy said, "what's out there?" Do-hyun thought about it for a long moment. Then he said, "Everything, little one. Everything is out there. Stars and planets and species we haven't met yet. Dangers and wonders and mysteries. But also friends. Friends we haven't made yet. Were the aliens our friends? They weren't at first. But they are now." Do-hyun held the boy close. "That's the amazing thing about the universe, Minho. It can always change. Enemies can become friends. Wars can become peace. Hate can become love. All it takes is one person brave enough to try." "One person?" "Yes, just one. One person can change everything." The boy yawned and snuggled closer. Soon he was asleep. Do-hyun looked at the stars one more time. He thought about Yura. He thought about Tai-woo, who died holding a corridor. He thought about the 47 soldiers of the 47th unit, who he would never forget. They had all mattered. Every single one of them. And because they mattered, 2 civilizations would survive. Do-hyun closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he slept without nightmares. The war was over. The future had begun.